As ever, we have Laure Jackson. Hello, Anne.
Hello, it is good to be here.
Yes, and you're back from Miami.
I am literally slept for about 12 hours last night, so we'll wait and see how this session goes. But yeah, no, really nice to be home. Brilliant to experience it, a different culture and a different way of being. You come back and think, actually, I'm quite happy to see a bit of rain. See how long that lasts. But yeah,
Different senses though, rain and heat, different effects.
Oh, I tell you, the whole experience, and I took a video in the airport because I just thought these guys have got it sussed. Okay, I had to, because if I can't sleep, I'm not a good person to be with. So I thought, this is the first time ever I'm going to go business class so I can actually sleep on the journey back. Well, at least that was the theory. The reality is something else, but at least I was lying flat. That was good. That was gorgeous. But so waiting in the lounge, I thought, I'm going to video this because I've never experienced anything like it before. But they had different zones, and I thought, it is amazing how much of luxury, depending on how you define that term, but it's based on the sensory qualities of somewhere. So I went around the airport with my video, taking note of the different areas within the lounge that you could go to. So they had actually labeled it quiet space. So obviously for auditory, airports are really, really busy places. Normally they are full of sights and sounds and smells. Sparkly things were everywhere. But actually, for those who pay, you get a reduced sensory experience because they obviously recognize that is really helpful for some people. Why they can't do it for all, that's probably in years to come, that would be nice. But I understand if people are paying for it, then they can get less sensory experience. So there are these quiet zones, and they'd really toned the lights down. So not only was it quiet, the lights were down, just really reduced sensory experiences. The chairs were more spread. So the whole tactile, everything was there. You had seats where you could have a little vibration. So I thought, oh, brilliant for the tactile system to calm those senses down. If vibration works for you, for some that would be quite highly alerting, so that wouldn't necessarily be great. But places where, again, folks could lie. The food, obviously, the standard of the food was of just a higher nature, and it was just fascinating. And you went through these little pods, these little pockets and zones of higher lighting, but still quiet. And then you had noisier places, but lower lighting. You had noisier places with higher lighting and more. I was just, going through and dissecting all the sensory experiences as you go through it, and the types of chairs that were available, the different types of heights. And I thought, well done. It's not just standard. It is individualized. It is personalized. So you really could choose the texture of your seating, the lighting, and they didn't have smells, actually. There you go, Miami Airport. You could have some different smells in there. But yeah, no, really impressed, and lovely to experience. And it's quite nice for me. Is it? I get excited about the smallest of things, really, and that's okay.
It's really interesting that you're looking at it, and not surprisingly, but you're looking at it from the perspective of the senses in terms of different parts of the airport, because I would never, I would never sort of consciously think, oh, this is a different sensory area. I would just sort of drift from I like airports. I don't really go flying much, but I love planes. So,
Right.
But yeah, that's an interesting perspective. So what were the things that you were struggling with the most then in terms of the sensory, I guess sensory overload, probably more likely in an environment like that?
Yeah, and I think because of lack of sleep, because it was a fair, I think so, over 24 hours of a journey from various places, and of course then I had to fly back to Jersey. So those links there. I can't remember what you just asked me, probably because my brain, but I do remember I was going. It was like quiet, but lots of light. So it's just good to know the kind of things. I suppose spontaneously, like you would just drift into an area that you felt more comfortable if you had the choice. But yeah, I was consciously paying attention to where my own self was being. but quiet, more space. I love leather as a texture. So, and I was definitely paying attention to the types of seating that was going to fit how relaxed I wanted to be. And I thought I actually wanted to work. So I thought I actually need a seat that's a bit more higher up, and that has something for me to be able to put things in so I could be in the right kind of body position. But yeah, do you remember what you've just asked me?
Yes. No, maybe a little bit of jet lag, perhaps. No, I was just saying, what were the overloads for you? Because what's interesting was how you looked at it as you could pay for business class and you could get I suppose, in a sense, a better sensory, a more personalized experience for yourself that's more tailored to what you actually cope with. And you said, why can't it all be like that? I mean, obviously, it's going to be, they can make money, so of course they will. However, I don't know, random. I remember watching Monsters, Inc., the cartoon film.
Yeah.
And as you watch the film, everyone's got different clothes because they're all different monsters. So therefore, some have got 4 heads, some have got 2 arms. And you've got all these chairs that are utterly unique to a wide array. And I just think, when I remember watching it and thinking, oh, well, that's never going to happen. But actually, what you're describing to some extent did, because you've got different places.
Yeah, it really was. It's like you have the opportunity at Goldilocks. You can go and choose. Yeah, beautiful. But because in the main hall, everything is happening. There are so many people that there really is it is quite overloading, unless you're happy in that space. But when you've been traveling a lot already, understandably, just a bit more space and peace, and lack of sensory input. Definitely nice.
Fine. Okay. So it makes us. It brings itself to a logical kind of topic, really, of how do you travel with children well? How do you travel if you've got sensory issues well? So there's going to be what can you do beforehand? So, like my wife Jo, I'm going to go on a ferry, so I'll take an anti-sickness thing because she can't cope with the rocking motion. So that's something that she can do to reduce a sensory overload problem. Mm-hmm. But what are the simple preventions that we can do? And yeah, that really.
Yeah. For shorter flights, I would always be going to set the system up first. And mainly because muscle work is one of the best and one of the easiest in a way to get in. So it would be trying to go for if you've got children, it'd be trying to go to a play zone beforehand. If airports actually have play zones, I think every airport should do. That was definitely a lack that I didn't see, but maybe also because I didn't ask, because I didn't have smaller children with me. But it would definitely be something to find out. If there is a place in the airport, and if there isn't, the hour before your flight, go to either an indoor area if it's raining, or get outside in the play parks. Get plenty of proprioceptive input into the system, which will be very organizing and calming beforehand. So, and then it's getting your pack, getting a pack of stuff that you can take with you, with your headphones or ear defenders, or sometimes just a band, just to block out the sounds a little bit more, or download something onto a phone or a device so that you can actually listen to things to block out the auditory. Then having lots of fiddles you can play with and things to push on and pull on. I love TheraBands because they're really tidy. They're really tight and small to pack, but you can put them all the way around your body. So you can put them around your back and pull with your hands so that you're giving your upper body some work to do. You can put them around your feet if you're sitting then in a plane, and you can put them around your feet and you can pull up and have that resistance. So although you're not able to get up and walk around the plane, you can still be giving yourself some input for those who might want to fidget, who might want to get up and move around and they're not allowed to. And that's hard if you've got a toddler and you've got to strap them in, especially for takeoff. But it's trying to have as many things as you possibly can to distract them at that time. The fact we've got so many phones these days is brilliant. At least we can use the visual system to distract and to try and keep people as in one place as possible. But for those who physically would be up and needing to move, then making sure that you've got physical things for them to do, and as bigger movements as possible, because you can do little fidgets with the hands. Those little poppets are definitely favourites at the moment. But if you can try and get more muscle work, that would be good. And anything that you can also blow and suck and chew on, so having plenty food, making sure it's like plenty chewy food, would be good. If you do have kind of blow toys, it would make sure that they're not the noisy ones. So they're not the likes of whistles or harmonicas, things that you might have at home that I would often recommend, but little things that you can blow in and that makes something move, or you blow it up, or that you blow a little ball. You get these little things where you can blow a ball up in the air and then try and catch it. You might lose it around the plane, but at least if you don't lose them, you'll be fine. But yeah, it's trying to use the senses as possible. But the preparation beforehand is very much get a good bag of stuff with you, and then try and set the sensory systems up as much as possible before you actually get on the plane. Those would be my recommendations.
I guess as a parent, try and tablets and phones are great, but we also need to think about other people's sensory overloads. So it's not going to be particularly helpful, especially in a small little narrow thing like a plane, if you're dealing with the sensory overload of a child or a vulnerable adult, and you're winding up everybody around you who's now sensory overloaded. So there is that element of let's just be cautious of, yes, let's help someone to deal with their sensory issues, but of course, don't overload everybody else at the same time. So hence you were saying not noisy stuff, and phones and tablets. Headphones, simple one for me. Yeah,
absolutely. Headphones for whoever's listening. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's bad enough in a restaurant, isn't it? If someone's got noisy children, you can get frustrated and you try and be compassionate. But if they've got a tablet that's blaring out, which I've had a few nice meals ruined by that, you just think headphones. Really think about other people.
Yes.
And especially in a confine of a plane, because you're with those people for quite some time. So actually, it's a really good opportunity not just to distract, I suppose, but also how can you help someone to learn to manage their own symptoms better when there's lots of people in a really, really tight, confined little place? How would you go about that best?
Yeah, I was just thinking as you were talking, we were in the gate before leaving, and the guy next to me had his phone on and was just playing a video, and I'm thinking, you don't realise how inconsiderate it is until you're on the receiving end of it. And it's like but I didn't know what to do, and I thought, well, actually, we're only at the gate, and then you use your cognitive strategies to help you cope with something. So look, it's fine. I was fine at that point. There was no sensory overload. It was just annoying. And it was just like, well, I understand he needs to do it. Maybe he forgot his headphones, or that he's packed them in his baggage, or, you have to talk yourself around so that you become more compassionate rather than wanting to turn around and say something that wouldn't be appropriate.
Yeah. Not that I would recommend that one, but I came close once. Right. Let's look at medication. I mentioned that Jo sometimes, I forgot what they were called. It's like an anti-motion sickness tablet thing she took. She said to me the other day, ask Anne about this one. I don't think it really works. She says, I'm sure it's just psychosomatic, but I take it. And if I don't, I know I'm going to have a problem. So if I take it, I'm okay.
Is this? Yeah. I tell you, those work. It was when we were away. Part of what we were doing as part of our business trip, that there was a reason for this, for going deep sea fishing. I know that I'm not good on the water. The vestibular system, especially as an SI therapist, it's really interesting. When I'm on the swings, I have to be very careful about what I do and how I do it, because I know that I have a sensitive vestibular system. I could do more to treat it, but I'm too busy doing other things to do that, and I'm fine. And I know that if I go anywhere, seasickness tablets are a go-to for me. So I was the only person on the boat that actually took the seasickness tablets, because I knew that I wasn't going to be able to manage. Everybody else, all the other visitors, were actually sick on the boat. Wow. And that was really fascinating. Not being aware that, it was a bit rough, but not being aware that their systems might do this. And for someone, it's the first time they'd ever got seasick. They'd never actually experienced what it was to be seasick, whereas they do now. And they're like, okay, yes, I am. So they do medication, depending on what it is for, is really effective. I think for some occasions that there is a placebo effect, but no, I think most time, certainly from that perspective, there is no way that would have a placebo effect for me, especially when everyone else is being sick, and you just think that would be enough to set you off. Sorry for talking about this for those who might be sensitive, even just at the thought of all of this. But medications, it generally is a really interesting one, because for the most part, I would avoid it. And for any people who are coming to me, 95% of the time, I will say, can you wait before you start taking medication to work through my sensory super system to see if we can help regulate your system before you go on medication? Because it is powerful, because the senses underpin so much function, and we can change the neurophysiology with some of the treatments that we do. So it's like, well, would you give me a chance to change what we can naturally first, and then we can see what's left over afterwards. But the occasions where I would say, yes, go for it, is honestly if folks are utterly wiped out. You know, if the parents, if we're talking about parents and they are getting no sleep at all, then it's just like, well, it's going to be really hard for me to work with the parents when they are sleep deprived. So it's like, well, for a season, do you want to try the medication that will just help with sleep for them so that you can get sleep for now? And then, you know, kind of come in and see when you are more with it, when you feel able and capable of starting to address these needs, then we can hopefully then reduce the medication and try and work on some of the more natural strategies to help the brain get to a better place, in order to help them sleep. Excuse me.
As you mentioned how because you were tired, because you're traveling, because you're in different time zones, obviously that's going to, in itself, that's going to do a number on anybody because it's 7 a.m. Why is it lunchtime? What's going on? So that's going to, screw anybody's brain up a little bit. But when you add sleep into that mix, which you mentioned, of course, it's going to get worse. And I remember when I had a bad back one time, the doctor gave me not so much for my back, but he said, you need to sleep, because if we can't get you to sleep, we're not going to deal with anything else, because now you're not thinking, and like you say, you can't work with sleep deprived.
Yeah. So I think it's only when people are at their, utter wit's end and don't have the capacity to push through or to be able to work. But that's more for the sake of the people who will be working with those who have sensory needs rather than the individual themselves. Because if it's the individual cells and they've managed to contact me, it's just like, right, let's go, let's really apply it. Let's do what we can this weekend. Let's go for it now, so that it's not, for some people, we do need to wait months before things start to take effect. But if you're ready to go and if you're keen and if you're committed, it's just like, right, let's go. You can learn an awful lot in a weekend and start putting things into place straight away. So for those people who have the capacity, let's just give full on 100% and change as much as we can, as soon as we can. Most people take it on a slightly more extended trip because it's much more manageable. But then the needs aren't as high. The pain points that we talk about, they're not as painful. If something's really painful, if you're really struggling, you will give everything that you have to try and sort that out. So if folks are in that place, then it's just like, come on in and we'll get to it, and we'll work intensively to try and get the change as quickly as possible for you.
It's the same thing though. If you're in pain with a muscle, you take a medication that's going to reduce the pain in order for you to utilize that muscle to get it built up to strength. So in a sense, all you're really saying is, on the rare occasions that sleep is needed, we're just resting literally the body in order that they can then work the brain to do what needs to be done to help that person with their sensory issues, which makes sense to me. But it's interesting how small a percentage it is that you're saying is probably might be needing for that. Do you think that gets worse when they've left it too long, or they just haven't seen it?
I don't know. Because even I'm just trying to think, because all the ADHD ones that come in, it's like, no, I'd still pretty high. I think because I believe in the power. And I know the power of sensory integration when it's done well. So, and I think until we've been able to assess it properly, until we really know what we're dealing with, I don't want medication to get in the way, because it will dumb down some of the symptoms. And therefore we can't see the effect of any. I don't know then what I'm dealing with, and I don't know what I'm not dealing with, because the medication is getting in the way. I'd rather see the reality of what their life is like, so that we can actually see the realities of the change that is due to natural means by processing sensory information better. So that's why I suppose it's only on a desperate measure that I would actually go down the medication route, until people have been through the system. Once they've been through the sensory super system, then I'm confident that we really have done everything from my perspective that is as natural as possible. And if there are still issues there, and then it's just like, whatever you think, it's their choice, whatever you think is the best way forward for you to be able to cope, for you to be able to deal with the situation, then that's your choice. But I feel totally at ease at that point that it's their choice, and that we have done everything that we possibly can do from a sensory perspective. But because so much changes, that's why I'd much rather we had that approach than anything else.
Right. So you've had some very recent real world experience of travel. We're coming towards Christmas, so perhaps next time we can look at Christmas and strategies for parents, grandparents, perhaps, because obviously parents who are working with their children, or they're more likely to be in the know if it's a child with an issue. But then you're bringing in uncles and aunts, and you've got grandparents, and you've got friends of the family kind of bolted on. And perhaps next time we can look a bit more at that and some coping strategies. I'm thinking more so really for parents, because it's such an overload for children at Christmas time. Yeah.
Oh, it's huge. I'd love that opportunity. I think that would be really good. Yeah. And any questions anybody has about anything specific, because there are so many areas that we can touch upon, and that'd be really good.
But give us one real world experience that you have learned about yourself, about your own sensory health, having been on planes, different time zones. Is there one kind of takeaway? Do you think that's something I learned for general life for myself?
I am definitely, with my vestibular being what it is, it was, if I cannot get to lie down on a plane, it is not worth me having the experience. So for my vestibular system and proprioceptive system, for me to be seated upright on a long term is not good. So the fact, although I didn't actually sleep, the fact that I could rest and I could actually be in a horizontal position, that was the best. I would have been I think I probably would have been quite agitated and really bothered had I not been able to at least lie down. So for some people, it may be if they have to do, I know maybe not everybody's going to do long haul or those kind of journeys. But it really would be, as I say, I will not be heading over doing a long haul flight if I cannot afford to lie flat. So whether it be, beg, I'm not going to say beg people stop, what was it? Beg, borrow or steal? No, I won't be doing the stealing, but it would be like, if I can't afford it for something I have to do, it will genuinely be asking people to be able to help me to afford to be able to lie flat, because my vestibular system staying upright for over 24 hours would not, I just wouldn't be able to do it. Yeah. So it's perhaps not such a transferable skill, and it's something that we take for granted. We lie down when we go to sleep, or if we want to rest. Some people might be able to sleep in a chair, but for my vestibular system, I need to be horizontal. And it was, I so appreciated those times when I literally could just go flat, even if I didn't sleep or wasn't sleeping that much because of just everything. It was still really important for me to do that, and I would have been quite agitated not to.
And we've got to look after our health, ultimately. Is it worth doing it if we're going to come back really agitated, really exhausted? Any positive can easily be overshadowed by our reaction to the bad parts.
Absolutely. And that was my big test this time, because I thought, this is the first time I'm trying it. And I thought, actually, this is doable. So if there is a call, or if it is the opportunity, or somebody asks me to go and speak somewhere else, or to go for a conference or another business trip or whatever, then it's actually, yes, I can do it, but only if I can actually lie flat.
Which makes sense. I get that. Ex-trucker, you're sitting up for a long time. As soon as I got on a break, I just wanted to lie down. And if I was in a truck where the seat didn't go very far back and there wasn't a bed, I would not be in a great place later on. I just wanted to lie down somehow and just rest my head from having to sit and stare. Just to be relaxed.
Yeah. That's the horizontal, the horizontal vestibular plane.
No, I actually didn't have a name for that, but now I know what it is. Yes, I have that. I totally get that. Alan, thank you so much. Somewhat jet lag, perhaps, and all. We're grateful as ever. And next week we'll look at Christmas. We'll look at all the festivities of going to churches with children with candles, with in-laws giving noisy toys, and everyone wanting to take hammers to them. Toys, all that stuff. We can try and work out how can grandparents cope with children with noisy toys. All that we'll try and cover that. But as you said, if you've got any questions for Anne for next week, send them in. Email them to me here at hello@pure247radio.org. hello@pure247radio.org. Send your questions to Anne Laure Jackson, and we will answer them as best we can next week. Right. Anne, do you want to give us your website so people can get in touch with you?
Yes, great. AnneLaureJackson.com. ANNELAURE Jackson.com.
Right. Thank you, Anne. We will see you again next week.
See you soon. Bye.
Pure 24/7 Radio is listener supported, which means we are free, online and always pure because of the generous support of our listeners. If you would like to contribute financially, please visit pure247radio.org. If you'd like to find out how we use your money, please visit the Our Cost section. Any donation of any size will help keep us on air and broadcasting for free. Thank you.